You know the moment. It is 2 or 3 in the morning. Your calf locks up. You grab it. You rub it. You press your thumb into the muscle and knead it the way you have done 100 times before. And the cramp does not care. It holds for 10, 15, 30 seconds while you lie there gripping your own leg and waiting. What if rubbing is the wrong response entirely? Not wrong in a harmful way, just wrong in the sense that it does not address what is actually happening inside the muscle when it cramps, and that what you are instinctively doing may be targeting the symptom while leaving the mechanism completely untouched. There is a specific response grounded in the neuroscience of how cramps actually start and stop that works with your nervous system rather than against it. It is not a supplement. It is not a device. It requires no equipment, no standing up, nothing that cannot be done in bed in under 60 seconds. I am Dr. Mary, and today we are doing something we have not done in this series yet. We are going into what to do in the moment it happens, right now, while the cramp is running. A cramp feels like a muscle problem. At the level of the nerve, it is something completely different. Most people think the muscle contracts, gets stuck, and will not release, and that is exactly what it feels like from the inside. But the research suggests the starting point is not in the muscle at all. Electromyographic studies, which measure the electrical activity of muscles in real time, have shown that leg cramps originate in the lower motor neurons. Specifically, a group of motor neurons begins firing at an abnormally high frequency, a rapid, involuntary, uncontrolled burst of nerve discharge that tells the muscle to contract and keeps telling it to contract, over and over, far faster than any voluntary movement could produce. The muscle is doing exactly what it is told. It is the nerve that is misbehaving. And here's the part that explains both why you are lying on your back with your foot pointed downward when this happens, and why the right response is to do the opposite. I want to tell you about a woman I will call Sylvia. Sylvia was 67. She had been dealing with nocturnal calf cramps for 4 years reliably, 3 or 4 nights a week, always between 2 and 4 in the morning. She had tried the approaches most people try: magnesium, CoQ10, hydration, stretching before bed. All of them had reduced the frequency. None of them had given her a reliable way to stop a cramp once it had already started. What she had been doing for 4 years was what almost everyone does: grab the muscle, rub it, point her toes, wait. Some nights it resolved in 30 seconds. Some nights it lasted 2 or 3 minutes and left her calf sore for the next day. Nobody had ever explained to her what was actually happening in her nervous system during those cramps. Nobody had told her that the position her foot was already in, toes pointed, calf shortened, was part of what was allowing the cramp to continue. And nobody had told her that one deliberate movement in the opposite direction, held for a specific period, would interrupt the nerve mechanism driving the cramp within seconds. Let me show you why. Here is the neuroscience of what is happening in your leg when a nocturnal cramp starts. When you lie in bed, particularly on your back or stomach, your feet naturally fall into plantar flexion, toes down, soles toward the bed. This is the relaxed resting position of the ankle for most people. In plantar flexion, your calf muscle, the gastrocnemius, is in its shortened position. Its fibers are as close together as they can get without actively contracting. And in this shortened position, something important happens to the system that is supposed to prevent involuntary muscle contraction. Inside your muscles and tendons, you have sensory organs called Golgi tendon organs, G2 receptors that monitor tension in the muscle. When a muscle contracts too hard or is under excessive load, the Golgi tendon organs fire an inhibitory signal that travels up to the spinal cord and tells the motor neurons to back off. It is a built-in safety circuit, a biological brake that prevents the muscle from overcontracting. Research has found that when the calf is in the maximally shortened position, plantar flexion, toes pointed down, the inhibitory input from the Golgi tendon organs to the alpha motor neurons is reduced. The biological brake is partially released. And when the motor neurons are already prone to hyperactive discharge, as they are in people who cramp regularly, that loss of inhibitory input may be exactly what lets the cramp ignite and sustain itself. In plain terms, your foot is pointing down. Your calf is at its shortest. The nerve circuit that should stop the cramp has gone quiet. And so the cramp runs because nothing is telling it to stop. Now here's the other side of this mechanism, and this is where the response I am going to give you comes from. When you move your foot in the opposite direction up, toes toward your shin, in the position called dorsiflexion, you lengthen the calf muscle. And as the calf lengthens, the Golgi tendon organ inhibitory signal comes back online. Tension rises in the muscle, the Gito-Ib afferents fire, they send the inhibitory input to the alpha motor neurons that the shortened position was suppressing, and the hyperactive nerve discharge, the cramp signal, is interrupted. This is why the standard advice to stand up and walk during a cramp often works not because walking is magic, but because standing forces your foot into dorsiflexion and engages that inhibitory pathway. The cramp stops not because of the movement, but because of what the movement does to your nerve signaling. And here's the important part. You do not need to stand up to get that response. You can produce it in bed, without getting up, in under 60 seconds. Stay with me because I want to walk you through exactly what to do, step by step, so that the next time a cramp starts, you are not guessing. You have a sequence. You know why each part works, and you can do it before the cramp finishes its first 10 seconds. Here is the 3-part response. The moment a cramp starts in your calf, do not point your toes. Do not rub the muscle. Do not grab it. Instead, flex your foot. Pull your toes back toward your shin as firmly and as far as you comfortably can, the opposite of the toe-pointed position your foot is probably already in. You are dorsiflexing. You are lengthening the gastrocnemius. You are reactivating the Golgi tendon organ inhibitory circuit. Hold that dorsiflexion firmly. Do not pulse it. Do not bounce it. Hold it steadily. For a count of 10 to 15 seconds, maintaining the pull. Most people find the cramp begins to release within that window not because the muscle was rubbed or warmed or massaged, but because the hyperactive nerve discharge driving the contraction has been interrupted at its source. If the cramp does not fully release on the first hold, rest for 5 seconds and repeat another firm dorsiflexion, held for 10 to 15 seconds. Research suggests that holding the stretch progressively reduces the nerve signal driving the cramp. The relief is not always instant, but it is directional. Each hold reduces the intensity. The second part is what you can add alongside the dorsiflexion, if your mobility allows it. You can reach down and loop a towel, a belt, or even your bedsheet around the ball of your foot and gently pull it toward you, assisting the dorsiflexion if your calf is too locked to pull the foot back on its own. This is the passive assist, the same mechanical effect, without requiring your foot muscles to generate the pull themselves. The third part is what you do in the 30 to 60 seconds after the cramp releases. This is the part most people skip entirely. They feel the cramp release and go back to sleep. But the calf muscle that just cramped is still in a sensitized, irritable state. The motor neurons that fired so rapidly have not fully reset. And if you immediately return to the plantar flexed sleeping position that allowed the cramp to start, the conditions for another cramp within the same night are still present. After the cramp releases, sit up briefly. Let your feet rest flat on the floor for 30 seconds, heels down, feet relaxed, your calf naturally lengthened. Then, if you have a spare pillow, put it under your calves before you lie back down. Elevating your calves slightly changes the angle your feet rest at and reduces the degree of plantar flexion your ankles settle into while you sleep. That is the full 3-part response. Dorsiflexion during the cramp. Passive assist if needed. Post-cramp 30 seconds plus calf elevation to reset the conditions. Sylvia used this sequence the first time she tried it. Her cramp, which had already been running for about 20 seconds when she remembered what she had learned released in under 15 seconds of held dorsiflexion. She stayed sitting for 30 seconds, slept with a pillow under her calves, and did not get a second cramp that night. She messaged me to say it was the first time in 4 years she had felt like she had a tool rather than just a weight. That is what understanding the mechanism gives you, not just knowledge. A tool. Tonight, before you go to bed, put a towel within reach on your nightstand, or looped at the foot of your bed, so that if a cramp starts, the passive assist is already there without having to search for it in the dark. One small thing, 30 seconds to set up. And it means the next time a cramp starts, you are already prepared for it. 3 things to carry with you. 1. Nocturnal leg cramps originate in the lower motor neurons, not in the muscle itself. Hyperactive, high-frequency nerve discharge tells the muscle to contract, and keeps telling it, and the shortened, plantar flexed position your foot rests in at night is part of what allows that discharge to sustain, because it reduces the Golgi tendon organ inhibitory signal that would otherwise interrupt it. 2. The correct immediate response is dorsiflexion, pulling your toes firmly back toward your shin and holding that position for 10 to 15 seconds. This lengthens the calf, reactivates the gi-toe inhibitory pathway, and interrupts the nerve discharge driving the cramp. It works with your nervous system rather than around it. If your foot is too locked to pull back on its own, use a towel or belt looped around the ball of your foot to assist the movement passively. 3. What you do in the 30 to 60 seconds after a cramp releases matters as much as what you do during it. Sit up briefly, feet flat on the floor, heels down, calves naturally lengthened. Then elevate your calves slightly with a pillow before lying back down. This changes the resting angle of your ankle and reduces the plantar flexion conditions that allowed the cramp to start. Before I go, something for next week. Today's video was about the cramp in the moment it happens. What to do right now while it is running, and I hope it gives you something you can use tonight if you need it. But there is a question I get asked more than almost any other in this channel, and I have not addressed it directly yet. Why does one leg cramp and not the other? Or, why does the right calf cramp but never the left? Or, why does the same calf cramp 50 nights in a row and then stop for a month and then come back just as suddenly? The answer connects to a specific asymmetry in your nervous system that almost nobody explains. And understanding it changes what you pay attention to and what you ask your doctor to look at. Subscribe so you see it when it goes up, because if today gave you a tool for the moment, next week will give you a framework for the pattern. I will see you then. Take care of those legs.